All right, welcome to day 3. For those online, be sure to pop some questions into the chat. In the audience, if you're going to ask questions, raise your hands or your hand. You don't need to do both. Restrooms are out the door through the big doors to the left or the right. We have refreshments outside, and we're walking past the camera. Try to duck beneath it. I'll try to model this in a couple of seconds. So with no further ado.
Q&A.
Oh, yes, I mentioned the Q&A.
Okay.
I'm going to pass this over to Neda. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone in this space and in our virtual space. Welcome to the Denial as Trauma, Genocide Denial Fuels PTSD in Bosnia. And before we get started, I just really want to acknowledge and thank the Genocide Awareness Week staff board of directors for having this year's theme around the 30th anniversary of the Srebrenica Genocide. Thank you so much for that acknowledgement this year. It means a lot to our community. And without further ado, I really would like to introduce and welcome my wonderful colleague. It's truly an honor and who is also truly a leader in our Bosnian community, Dr. Esad Boskailo. So I'm going to give some background on him, and then we're going to have a conversation, and then also, as Tim mentioned, open it up for Q&A. So Dr. Boskailo is a Bosnian-American psychiatrist, author, and human rights activist. He was born in war-torn Bosnia and Herzegovina and experienced firsthand the brutalities of the Bosnian War, during which he was imprisoned in several concentration camps. After immigrating to the United States, Dr. Boskailo pursued a career in psychiatry and specialized in the treatment of survivors of torture and trauma. Dr. Boskailo co-authored the book, Wounded, I Am More Awake, Finding Meaning After Terror, with Julia Leblaich in 2012. The book details his experiences as a survivor of torture and his journey towards healing and recovery. The book has been praised for its powerful and moving narrative as its insight into the psychological impact of trauma. In addition to his work as a psychiatrist and author, he is also an active speaker, educator on the topics of trauma, human rights, and social justice. He has lectured at universities and conferences around the world and has been featured in numerous media outlets. He has also served as a board member of several organizations helping survivors of torture and trauma in the US and Europe. And Dr. Boskailo has received numerous awards and honors for his work as a psychiatrist and human rights. It's my honor to welcome Dr. Boskailo.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you for coming. And before I start, I want to disclose something. Anytime we speak publicly, or we speak in the small groups or university or even social media, we really have to pay attention what we say, because it's so important. It brings our different emotions if we speak positively. It brings negative emotion if we speak negatively. And then we have to be careful what we say. Like the truth is one, but people have different view of the truth. People have different idea. Because as a survivor, I may be like biased by what happened in war in Bosnia. So I have to disclose something. I spoke 1,000 times about genocide in Bosnia. I never, ever received any message by either social media or directly that I didn't tell the truth. Never. Not because I'm careful. I speak only what I know for sure. And when I speak about history of Bosnian genocide, I always use UN documents. If UN documents are not correct, then I'm not correct. But I don't use Bosnian media or our journalist story. So that's very important for me to say. In psychiatry, we call it boundaries. And then I learned about boundaries. It's what we do with our patient, because we close the door And patients sitting with us and they tell us the most like emotional, significant story from life. And then what do we do with that inside with the patient? And one presentation that I attended, Dr. Glenn Gabbard, he's my favorite psychiatrist in the US, he said, I'll teach you boundaries in one sentence. And there are books of boundaries in psychiatry. He said, and we all said, what is it, one sentence? How do you do that? He said, whatever you talk with a patient alone in the room, you have to be very comfortable to share the story with your supervisor, your colleague, your spouse, your friends, or anybody else. If you talk to patient about something that you say, you know what, maybe I'm not comfortable to share with a group of people what I did with the patient, what I talk about, that's a crossing or violating boundaries. So that's why I have to disclose. Whatever I say, I speak what I saw, and I use history from United Nations only. Very important for me to say. All right, so yeah, that's the book. I did it with Julia Lieblich in 2012. It's a good book. This is my message. If I come, I usually think, if I come to somewhere to speak, if I can give a message, like why am I doing this? Every year for the last 10 years, almost every year. And since 30 years ago, all over the world, because we are trying to prevent it. We are trying, if I'm able to reach to one person, if you are ever in position to politically or with your power that you are able to torture another person, don't. So that's my message. And peace is everything for all of us. And we are, nature of humanity is we are selfish people. We are very selfish. We even the politician or people in power, they're very selfish. They have own children, but they don't think about them. They only think about own power. Power is very, having the power is very dangerous things. So in our duty, I feel a duty to speak about protecting every single human life. And then the last message is, yeah, we have to think about past. We honor the past, but we have to fight for future, for us and for our kids and for humanity. Okay, so quickly, for most people, I believe most people know, but this is what happened in 1992. I'll tell you, you can read it, and people on Zoom, they can read the slides, right? Okay, so basically, quick history. It was former Yugoslavia. It was 6 independent states. We call them republic. And then Berlin Wall fell in 1992, 1991 too. And then Bosnia, first Slovenia, then Croatia, then Bosnia get out of former Yugoslavia because it was dominated by Serbian power, and they get out and recognized in 1992 by Europe, by US, and then became a member of United Nations. And then we have a war day later, Actually, April, this is April, and the war started in Bosnia in April, okay, 1992. But during my presentation, I'll tell you a few stories. You hear that I was in 6 concentration camps, and but just to tell you how war started for most of us, especially I know for me, I was driving to work on April 6, 1992, to my hospital, and I was stopped. And then that day, I became a doctor in the army, protecting civilian and soldiers. That same afternoon, so I was stopped by 5, 6 people. They covered the face with something, and then they told me, "You cannot go." I said, "I work in the hospital." They said, "Go back." And they have big gun. And then sometimes, physicians are, crazy about work. We identify it as a work. You know that about doctors, right? I said I'm Dr. Boskailo, but if you are CEO of the company, you say I'm CEO of SU. I don't say I work for this and this hospital. So this is our identity. So I said, no, I'm going to work. They said, no. And then one guy uncovered the face. I recognized him. He said, he called me by first name. He said, go back home. We have to kill you. And that day I was at front line. So this is UN document that's genocide in Bosnia. Human losses, killing, public libraries. I show you a picture. And then Dayton Peace Agreement came in 1995. So war was for 4 years. And then international court for former Yugoslavia, established by President Clinton, and they decided, they made this court decision that was genocide. And then the UN later said that was the really the most difficult and painful in our history, and they have regrets what happened. They should, they could. I'll tell you how I know they could intervene earlier. It's very simple. War was going on for 4 years, and then over like 7-10 days, UN, actually US and UN stopped the war in Bosnia. It's very simple. They bombed Serbs' military position. War was done. They tried to negotiate peace with Slobodan Milosevic, president of Serbia at that time, who died in the prison in Hague. Later, he didn't want a peace, and the United Nations bombed them. General Wesley Clark actually was running this business, and the war was stopped. So they could could they do that earlier? Yes, they could. So they should regret. Human losses, people believe something between 100 and 200,000 people are killed and many wounded. And then just to tell you, it's a number. Every Bosnian population of 4 million, I believe, I don't know exactly right now, even less than before the war, unfortunately. But every second person from our country was displaced, forced to leave the home, every second. And I'm one of those. So, war was over. Think about it. What the consequences of war? People think war was over in 1995. For a lot of people, yeah. But for me, I got my house back in 2001. Somebody else was living there. So just like few picture and just in July in 1995, 30 years ago, the Srebrenica, you're gonna have presentation of this Srebrenica town in East Bosnia. The United Nations recognized there are so many towns, like thousand small town. 1,000 refugees from neighborhood villages came to this town, and they are on the border with Serbia. They cannot defend themselves. So United Nations recognized that and declared it a safe zone. And they put Dutch battalion, like around 2,000 people. I may be wrong, but something. And then to protect. And then Bosnian army has to give away weapons. And that city is under UN protection, safe zone. And so people, refugee came to that town thinking we are safe by United Nations. That's the story. But then General Ratko Mladic, who got life sentence in prison in the International Court in The Hague, he came to the city. He kicked out UN Dutch battalion, kicked them out, and he got buses. And there are documents, and you can see video on YouTube and everywhere else. And there is a good movie about this. It's named Quo Vadis Aida. It's a great movie about this. And then he said, I'm going to put you in buses to a safe zone, and the people get the children and kids of 15-year-old adult, and he killed them all. Pretty much around, people believe up to 12,000 people killed over a few days. So that's why United Nations, they said they regret. It's a good movie. And you can see there are civilians, they kill them, execution. And then last year, it was a big year for last year, preparing for 30 years anniversary. UN did good job, really. That I respect this decision is made as International Day of Reflection of Commemoration of Genocide in Srebrenica. And they, before that, Dayton Peace Agreement decided that there is a High Commissioner, this is his name, currently is Christian Schmidt, German person. He is responsible for kind of the political decision about Bosnia based on Dayton Peace Agreement, and he made a criminal law to deny genocide for anybody in Bosnia. Denying genocide is crime. Denying genocide is crime. So that's a good law. Also, the library, they destroyed around 3 million books. There's a lot of history, and it's Europe, Bosnia is all country, so they destroyed on purpose to 3 million books. So that's a picture on the left is the library before and during everything is destroyed. Now the library is back, but we lost a lot of those books. Old Bridge in Mostar, you see, it's a town near my town. It was beautiful, I think built in 15th century, something 500 years. And then survived Balkans War, World War I, World War II, but this didn't survive. Destroyed by Croatian army, and they denied all the time for like 25 years. They denied, they said we didn't do it, but there is something about crime and genocide. There is something described by Judith Herman, the psychiatrist from Harvard. She wrote several great books on trauma. One is Trauma and Recovery, and she described that the crime, like genocide, atrocity, cannot be buried down. Can't. Has to come out either as a story or as a symptom. She said, you cannot hide it. So somebody couldn't hold this video of ordering. There is a video now available that Croatian army ordering destroy the bridge, and it's public now. So, and then this guy, believe it or not, he got 20 years in prison in Hague, and then when he hears final sentence, somebody gave him cyanide in the court. And there's a video, I didn't want to put video, it's just kind of scary how he was shaking. And he got cyanide, he died. He couldn't, and believe it or not, he's movie director. He was movie director. Yeah, and then, So it's interesting, like family history is interesting, family story. His father was fighting Nazi. He was fighter in the World War II, his father. And look at him. The movie director, he ordered destroying the bridge and he killed himself. He couldn't manage being in the prison for 20 years because it was proven that he did it, among other things. So. City of Mostar destruction, I don't want to put too much of this. Sarajevo siege, April, again, anniversary, 1425 days, 11,000 people killed in our capital. And injury, 50 people, children, 1,600. And the ceremony was done on anniversary. There are empty chairs. 11,540 on empty chair there. And then this marketplace shooting was actually one of the things that the United Nations and U.S. recognized. That's it. And after this, very soon, Serbian army was bombed. Very soon after this market where people buy fruit, it was a very limited amount of. And then at the end of the war, city of Tuzla, northeastern Bosnia, no war activity, whole war. There was not much war activity. That was geographic reason, whatever it is. There was no bombing. And then young people get out, end of the war, the cafe bar, And then they on purpose they killed so many young people in the city of Tuzla, so over 70, and it's graves. And then the current leader who is in trouble right now, Milorad Dodik, I'll tell you about him in a second. He said that never happened. That was very painful for parents and relatives. He said that never happened. The Bosnian government brought body from elsewhere to bury them, to say they are killed in this. Even I say, even if they are killed anywhere else, so what is the denial? What's the purpose of the denial? And he is leader now in Bosnia. Yeah, so concentration camps, that's just like for people who, I want you to think for a second, how quickly you can get to this point. It's unbelievable. Like it's against all medicine I learned, it's quickly as a month or two, you can to this point from being normal body. It's because they don't give any food. Yeah. Very good. This is my camp. I was there. These people have normal weight before the war. It's like 2 months, month or two without food will get you here. Yeah. There's some people from my concentration camp. I know all of them. Believe me, these people are like the guy in the middle. He was probably 200 pounds before the war. Now he was like 100, pretty much. That's how. Yeah. That's unbelievable. And this is something that bothers people. The city of Bijeljina in Bosnia, its first days of the war, killing civilian, and then Ralph Harvey was a journalist, famous journalist. He was there in the war. Actually, the cover of my book is done. Photo was done by him. Yeah, he gave it to me. On my book that I show you, he did this. This woman was dead. She was killed already, and she was hitting her. But this guy is alive, and he's DJ in Belgrade. And people are really bothered with. But what can you do? It's a different country, Belgrade, Serbia, and he's working as a DJ. And he was kicking already killed woman. Srebrenica, you see a woman hanging, and what is, if you think any human can understand, I don't think anybody can understand this picture. Anybody. What did she do to be hanged like this? But there is resilience also in Mostar. It's a town near mine. It's a people get coffee. This is Sarajevo, the woman going to work. Not a NATO military intervention, I already said it. And then I'm checking my time. Good. Okay, 1995 Dayton Peace Agreement. Not the best agreement, stop the war, but make government that's non-functional. There's a lot of possibility for nationalists to lead a region of the Bosnia, and not good, but what can we do? War, killing was stopped. So a lot of people got in prison. The Radovan Karadzic, he is political leader of Serbian people in Bosnia. He got 40 years in prison. He was a psychiatrist in my university that I studied in Sarajevo. He was a psychiatrist. Yeah, General Ratko Mladic, life sentence. Milosevic, he died. And then there are 62 convict Serbs, 18 Croats, 5 Bosnians, and some others. Yeah. Okay, so what now? And right now, situation in Bosnia is terrible, and I'm going there every year since 2001, since I got my house back. This year I'm not going. I cannot. I'm scared. because this guy, a leader of Bosnia, Dodik, he got prison sentence because of this trying to destroy Bosnian constitution. And the Bosnian court got him a year or year and a half, I forget, in prison. And he doesn't. He's surrounded himself by his guards, and he's not arrested yet. It happened a month ago, and situation is not safe, and people are fear of the new war. And by the law, he shouldn't leave the country. Yesterday he was in with Putin. He was last month with Putin. He was 3 months in Moscow and Putin. He visited Russian at least 5 times last year, and he's. I think he came back yesterday from meeting with Putin, and then we are afraid new war will come. But people, young people, I want to talk about to you about young Serbian people in Bosnia. They want peace. They want to go to school. They want to get married. They're going to get family. They don't like him. I was in Banja Luka, is city that Serbian portion of Bosnia mostly lives. Banja Luka is a nice, beautiful city. I was there last year. I was sitting in a restaurant, and with my wife, and I talked to local people. None of them, they said they like him. They said they hate him. But I said, what's going on? That it's a small community. The people, this is not like even Phoenix is larger than whole Bosnia population. It's 3.5 million probably now. And then you have to have a job, and he's a leader. You get the job through him and through his party. You cannot say anything. You may be even killed. You can be hurt. You can lose job. You cannot get your kids going to school. So they are afraid. They live like in a cage. And as a psychiatrist, maybe somebody know about this test. It's by Skinner, a psychologist. I think he gave this theory of called learned helplessness. You learn to be helpless. That's what's happening to Serbian people in Bosnia. They're helpless. They cannot change it. He put the dog in the cage and shook dog with electricity, and the dog is trying to get out. And then they later same story. And then 10 days later, I think 10 days or something later, they shook with electricity. The dog is staying there, doesn't move. Then they opened the door. Then they opened the cage completely. And they did apply electricity to the dog is staying there, doesn't move. So he learned to be helpless. This is happening to people, Serbian people in Bosnia. They're hostages to his politics. They cannot do anything because you have to go to school, you have to get a job. They cannot do it. And then many people now that I have here from Srebrenica or other part of Bosnia have PTSD symptoms. It's worsening now because they are scared of new war. Even though we are here, but we have families there, so it's not safe time basically for us. And nobody thinks about youth. Nobody thinks about kids, those politicians. And this climate triggers fears in people, and that's yeah. There are many. They make monuments to war criminals still, and then I got involved. One of the concentration camps that I was in, Mostar, it's called Rodoch Mostar, and I was there for a long time. And honestly, I saw killing there, and I saw torture, and they tried to torture me there, and it's a terrible concentration camp. Many people are killed and wounded. They try to make museum to those armies called Croatian Army, to make museum honoring them. Croatia wants to do it. And then I went to Bosnia. I talked to Schmidt, is Christian Schmidt. He is a high commissioner. I mentioned him earlier, German guy. I talked to him twice. He stopped it for now, but for now, I don't know if somebody else come. Who knows? I talked to American ambassador to Bosnia, Murphy, about this also, and then it's one of them or both stop it. I talked to them 2 years ago. I was in Sarajevo. And they tried to make museum too. And then even though they got this guy was who poisoned himself with cyanide. That's the guy who organized everything. And he got sentenced in international court, and they are trying to make museum. So what are you teaching your children? Dodik, I already talked about him. He's really keeping Serbian people hostages. The Serbian people, if you think about nice people, they're good people. They're like good sportists. Some of them are the best sports in the world. Currently you have the tennis player who is probably the best in the world. You have a basketball player who is probably the best in the world right now. And they are scientists. They are good artists. They are good soccer player, basketball, everything. But they cannot say anything. I talk to them. They cannot say anything there because it's a small community. Yeah, they're not our enemy. We have to live together, but we have to remove these leaders. That's the key. Future, we have to work on freedom of speech. We have to be comfortable. We don't want to be like definition of freedom of speech is different. It's changed over the history. Freedom of the speech. It's Idi Amin. Probably Idi Amin, a dictator in Africa somewhere. He said they asked him about freedom of speech. He said, "I respect it. I'm for freedom of speech, but later when you speak, I don't guarantee your life. But you freedom, speak." So I hope we are not going there. I hope, but anyway, so some people in Bosnia feel they don't have a free to speak. I do. We need free press, we need education, human rights. We need to teach children to simple empathy and respect to other people. And we really, I believe we have to act. And then I talked to, again, Christian Schmidt. I wrote him a letter 10 days ago. He responded very nicely. He said he's doing everything with the United States and UN to protect peace in Bosnia. And then yesterday we have big US Army, not big, but enough, just landed in Sarajevo last night to patrol through the Bosnia to trying to protect peace. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but they are there. So the reason I'm doing this one of the reasons I'm doing this presentation is education, educate people, talk about it, and then we have to work on rejecting those war criminals. Gave them a name them. You are war criminals. You kill yourself with cyanide in the court. You don't make monument to this guy, So that's what we need to talk about. So basically, again, reason for this conference, by the way, is a genocide happened. Also, as you can see, survival happened to us and maybe somebody else here. So we have to fight for the peace, not for the war. So that's my slide from the beginning. That's the reason for my presentation. I didn't want to tell you much story about myself. It doesn't make sense. You hear that you just, if I say over a year, 6 concentration camps, if I tell you 220 pounds like this came to 105, 110, 2 months later. So I don't think I need to tell you detail. There's no point, what you're going to learn if I tell you what happened to me personally or something. If I tell you 6 camps, I think that's enough. I think that's about it, yeah. So.
And Dr. Boskailo, the other aspect to what you were saying that I would add also is many of us have our land in Serbian territory, right? So what happens if our land is taken, by Dodik? Where do we go? The U.S. Refugee Resettlement Program is shut off right now. So where do people go if they're displaced? If their land is taken, where do they go? And so I think also the way that things are structured per the Dayton Agreement, how people were separated ethnically creates a lot more of a difficult situation, much more complex, and which we'll talk about later in the afternoon, But, you know, as Dr. Boskailo mentioned right now, it's very tense, and the Bosnian community is on pins and needles, and it brings up a lot of trauma for folks. And so it's certainly, you know, an unknown situation right now. And that being said, should we open it up for questions?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of done. Yeah, I'm open for any question or discussion, or will you have comment or something?
Yeah, do we need, I'm sorry.
And also, if there are any questions on Zoom, we can keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I'll do the questions if they come in.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, if we're all set. Yep. I just want to make sure. And you can hear me? The thing is through? Okay. Dr. Boskailo, thank you for your presentation. I can only imagine how difficult it is, even if you stay away from the particulars of your story, to have to relive this in front of people. And I don't say this lightly. This is the third time I've seen you present. Every time there's some new core that's really important that you've shared. And I think this time is the sort of danger in Bosnia today, and that legacy of violence that has not changed in significant ways, unfortunately, that threat. But I have to say, I find you admirable, heroic to be able to do this. I just, you know, I'm from a genocide survivor family way back, and my family members who survived could never talk about what they went through, let alone they were afraid to be in public, to even, they couldn't share anything. It was just, so to be able to do that is really a testament to your strength and commitment to other people. I have two questions that are really, I want to get your advice on, as someone dealing with Bosnia, the Bosnian genocide within the context of genocide studies and so forth. And the first is, I've always been very, very uneasy about the idea that Srebrenica was the genocide, not 1992 to 95 or even later. I mean, I think there was a soft end. As you said, the Dayton Accords were a kind of semi-reward to the perpetrators. It sort of bought the perpetrator community off with land to stop the killing, right? So it kind of stopped the killing, and rape and so forth, but it didn't stop the project. So I was wondering if you can comment on that. How do you feel about, you know, so much focus on Srebrenica, which is obviously a horrible massacre, but ignoring the mass rape camps, the concentration camps, the killing, the deportations, the destruction of religious identity and so forth. So that's the first question. And the second question is, as you think about the current situation in Bosnia, and this is looking forward, which is really your goal, would you say, and I don't mean this as a leading question, I'm really trying to understand this context, would you say that Bosniaks feel still under the power or under the threat of perpetrators, which you said, in a way that's very similar to the 90s? Or have things changed somewhat since then? And I ask that because I think that continuity, we see this in a lot of cases. In most cases of genocide, the survivor group ends up still under threat from the perpetrator group, even 100 years later. Yeah. And I was wondering if you can comment on, are things improving, even slightly? Are things up and down? Is it the same?
Okay. First, your first question, Dayton Peace Agreement, and how is that they said genocide in Srebrenica only, not other part of Bosnia. You are really right. Actually, more people are killed in Sarajevo than in Srebrenica under the siege. And again, talking about how denial about it, I want to talk about it for a second, because there is a Sarajevo, there is a Jewish cemetery. It's on the hill in Sarajevo, very nice cemetery, very old. I mean, 500 years old. And that place was used by Serbian army to hit the city because it's positioned above the city. And then the current president of Serbia, Vučić, he was there with a gun. There's a video of him. He was there shooting. He's currently president. So that's answer to your question. And then I was in Hague on the trial of Radovan Karadzic, that guy who got 40 years. He is pretty much leader of this genocide, psychiatrist. And I was on his trial. And the judge asked him, Jewish cemetery was used to hit the major hospital. It's called City Hospital, and that's genocide. And he said, "Dear Honor," he spoke English. I was there. He said, "Dear Honor, anybody, whoever was in Sarajevo once and on Jewish cemetery, they can testify that you cannot see City Hospital from that cemetery." He said, and judge said, "Okay, we have people there, UN people, send us video and photography from position of Jewish cemetery and City Hospital." So that year, summertime, same summer, I was there with friends from US, and it's interesting. His parents survived Auschwitz. David Goldberg, doctor, he was with me, and we visited the Jewish cemetery. And I told him this story, and he said, "Where is the City Hospital?" I said to him, "David, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, City Hospital is in Europe. Hospitals are big building. It's a, 10-story. What do you see here?" He said, "I saw the big building. From here, it's very, I said, "That's it. That's it." So it's so visible from that place. So he lied. He lied bluntly, telling then everybody, whole community, "You cannot see it." But when I bring my friend there, I ask him, "Where is that hospital?" It was there. So that's how that denial came. What happened, what you are talking about, it's called utopia in philosophy. Ideally, what should happen is stop the war, make nice peace and then move forward, but they didn't do it. Reason for that, I talked to a few people involved, several actually, involved in Dayton Peace Agreement. I talked to people who are directly involved in negotiation by American sides. I talked to the Bosnian sides, and that they said that was a rush to make a peace, to stop killing. And if you ask me, it's a terrible peace agreement, but I like it. Think about it. Day later, killing was stopped. That's important for me as a human being. As a politician, if I'm a politician, I would speak differently here. But as a human physician, I like that agreement because killing was stopped. Yeah, it's nothing is ideal in life. Also accepting nothing. And your second question was about right now, what's happening right now.
Yeah, and even to extend it a little bit,
Yeah.
what would it take for both
I see.
Serbia and Bosnian Serbs to change? I think the attitudes are
Yeah.
a lot of attitudes. What would it take? to change?
They are. I talked to them. I was in Banja Luka. It's a beautiful city, actually. I was there 2-3 days. I talked to many people on the street. Believe it or not, it's a small place, I was in that city. I played basketball many years ago in Bosnia, and then it was first time I visited Banja Luka, and then I didn't know where is the main place. Where do we walk in the evening, And there is a guy with nice little dog, puppy, and my age, and I said, "Hey, where people walk here? Can you please tell me? I'm not from here." He said, "Oh, Dr. Boskailo, how are you?" So he is the oncologist involved in our community. We have Bosnian American Academy for Science and Arts, and we present in Europe every year, medical, non-medical sections, and he was part of our presentation. He's an oncologist, actually a lung cancer specialist. And I asked him, "What's going on?" I saw him apparently before. He said, "I was in your conference, Bosnian American Academy, and I was trying to make meeting in Banja Luka, Serbian portion of, and guess what? I'm not medical director any longer. I lost the job." So he was just trying to make conference. Bosnian American, we bring leaders from science from here to home, make huge conference, like 300 presentations, scientific. And he was trying to organize that to bring knowledge to doctors in Serbian portion of Bosnia. He lost the job just because this idea. So it's not good. Some people in Bosnia, like I talked to my relatives over the weekend. We have a holiday over the weekend. So I talked to them and they said, whatever, they want a war. Okay, we cannot deal with this fear any longer. They have children, They are going to school. We cannot deal with this any longer. This is like they kept us hostage for 30 years. So that's the atmosphere is either people feel fear or they say, well, whatever, let's finish with this. So it's very complicated. So I'm not a politician. I don't want to, spend much time on this. So.
And also not to add also that Radovan Karadzic, the genocide leader that Dr. Esad talked about, his daughter now is a politician in Bosnia. So that tells you to the extent of, to your second question.
Yes.
So speaking about him.
Yeah.
Oh, actually.
Wait, Here.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So thank you so much for your presentation and your analysis. My name's Kate, so it's nice to meet you. And I'm a genocide scholar, but my training is as a religious ethicist. And so in thinking about some of the religious aspects of the genocide, you have, Orthodox Serbs, you have, who are Christians, you have Bosnian Muslims. And so there have been writings about that and about some of the ethno-nationalist identities that were caught up in the genocide. And I really appreciate that you talk about a path forward, right? And about what we can do moving forward. Can you talk about to what extent you've seen religious actors or institutions involved in some of the work in moving things forward? And to what extent you think they really are a part of moving forward? Like, is it a great influence? Is it little influence? And what influence they do have? Can you talk about what some of those activities are that you might be aware of?
Yeah, like everywhere else in the world, religious has a part to it, but some religious leaders are involved in very negative ways. Some are less negative. Some try to be positive. So it's very complicated. But I want to tell you, in the Bosnian army, we have all people. We have many Serbian heroes and Croatian heroes in our army. So that's very important because people feel Bosnian as a citizen of Bosnia. But what I learned is directly. I'll tell you a story directly. So his name is Spahic, last name. He was a leader, professor in Islamic school, college. And he said there was a meeting by American ambassador, meeting of the leader of the Muslim community leader, raised its name, and then Croatian, it's a, how do you call it? He was Pulic, I forgot his title, Cardinal, and then Serbian also. The three of them, and during the war, it's from 1993. And this, our main leader was sick, and this guy, Spahic, he went to a meeting. He told me the story, and he said it is recorded. Same question that American ambassador asked him, what's going on with you guys, leader? I mean, can you do something positive? And what is going on? You sit with me here, you know each other, you shook hands, you hug each other. What is going on? Can you do something positively? And they said, Croatian and Serbian, they said, yeah, we are trying or something. And then this Bastian guy, he said, I'll tell you a story from King Solomon. There was a woman, two women, there is one child, they're fighting, who is the mother? And both said, it's my son. And then brought to Solomon, and he said, that's easy. That's very simple. You both say it's your son. They say, yes. Cut them in half, take half. And the woman that was not, one woman said, oh, fine, that's good. And he said, okay, that's not your child. So he said, Bosnia is my child. We don't want to divide. And they want. So that's the story. Because why is that? It's nothing to do with religious. It's doing that geography. We are so unlucky. Geography is unluckiest science for Bosnians. Unlucky. If we are between those two fascistic states, Serbia and Croatia, they decided, they made decision many years ago, and they repeated all the time to divide Bosnia because we are rich. We have more water, more river, lakes, and waterfalls, more than Spain, Italy, and France together. We have resources, we have mining, we have everything. Electricity, we give electricity to Croatia and Serbia. We are rich, but our geography, we are just unlucky. One is on east side, one is on west. They want to divide us. And there are people Serbian people live in Bosnia, Croatian people live in Bosnia. So they want to divide us. And Solomon is dead and we don't have new Solomon, so we have to suffer. That's the story about Bosnia and religious in Bosnia.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I have two questions, both related to psychiatry. So let's talk about.
That's what I like.
Yeah, let's talk about courageous first. How, give us some way to make sense of this person. He's a scientist, he's a physician. I mean, it's kind of like a Serbian
Right.
counterpart of Mengele.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
So
yes.
what is it about that person? You must know quite a lot about him since
Right,
you've
right.
been through the trial. That's the first question. How do we make sense of scientists to commit all those crimes? Second question is more, how do you as a physician, as a psychiatrist, handle two kinds of PTSD? You have the individual PTSDs that you have to deal with, how to help a person who went through, and then shall we call it the collective,
Right.
the group as a whole that is also traumatized by what has happened.
right.
So how do you handle both?
Yeah. So understanding Karadzic, I think nobody alive can understand him. So there is no explanation other than it's something called addictive psychology. Psychology is addictive, same as cocaine. Or he got into the nationalism. He got with some people giving him this idea, and then he didn't know how to stop. But what humans are able to do, his example of Yusef Mengele or somebody else, what they are able to do is just like we cannot comprehend. I think only somebody who is really crazy can understand him. And me and you, we cannot, because we are normal. I have no explanation for his atrocity and being a physician, because we don't have that explanation in psychiatry. We don't have other than he's antisocial or he's psychopath or something. Yeah, but addictive ideology, the ideology becomes addictive because they give you something. There is a book called Addictive Psychology. It's done by, here's my friend, Paul Johnson. He's he talked about me actually in the book also. He was mayor of Phoenix when he was 29-year-old in the same time when I was in the war. So we talk about that. I say, imagine 1993, you are mayor in Phoenix. I was on frontline. And we are same age. He's my friend. He wrote a really good book, Addictive Psychology. So that's explanation. Dealing about trauma and the individual, a lot of people ask me how I deal with trauma. Resilience is, not everybody has PTSD symptom. I never had full PTSD symptom. Only 20% of people who survive life-threatening trauma develop PTSD. Other people develop, that's me, like something called post-traumatic growth, PTG, post-traumatic growth. We get better, people. I get better after trauma. Understanding trauma, not letting, I make it as decision. It is, a few things help me. I can share that with you quickly. I don't know how we are on time. Fine. Okay. So sometimes in life, we are talking about psychiatry. Sometimes in life, we all need somebody tell us something. You have to hear the story. You have to see a movie. You have to read the book. Something happened to us that changed our thinking. So when I was just released from concentration camp, I went to Croatia by UN run a refugee camp. I was there waiting to come here. And I couldn't walk much, couldn't do anything. I was just sitting there in the camp, sitting. And there was a US ambassador to Croatia, I think Peter Galbraith, I think that's his name. His father was also ambassador, I think, in India or China, something. But he's ambassador of Croatia. He came to visit. There's like 8,000 refugees from Bosnia waiting to go to. There's a playground, soccer playground. Everybody's there. I wasn't. And apparently I was only one who didn't go there to see his speech. He saw me. And he came, I didn't speak any English at the time. And he came to me and he said, with interpreter, name, sure, and then he said his name. He said, how come you didn't come to see my speech? I said, I don't know, I don't care. And he said, what did you do before? And I told him I was physician. And he said, you can be a physician again in the US. And I said, how? And he told me about exams. There are 2 exams to get your license. I think he said his wife is physician. So that hope changed me completely. That moment I changed. I was thinking, okay, I can do things better than saying, I was just survivor of concentration camp. I cannot do anything. I cannot even see the presentation or something. Instead of feeling that hopelessness, he gave me hope. So sometimes we need to hear that hopeful statements, and he changed my life. After that, I started doing things, started reading, a lot of good things, and I focus on future, and I changed me completely. Yeah. So that's a personal level. On community level, it's difficult to talk about community and trauma. Every incident like this right now, what happened with Dodik, change our people. My patient got worse. They have more nightmares. They are scared again because we have property, we have family there, and so it's making worse.
Can I ask the question that's online? I have two questions. One is, trying to think how to put this. Currently in Bosnia, is there any bright lights? Do young people have any sense that, peace is real and going to stay, and that they can become what they want to be in their lifetime, or are people just kind of stuck?
Both. I think some people are stuck, and then if you think somebody who is, I don't know, let's say 26, 27, 30-year-old, early adulthood, that's a time when you think should you form your family? Are you going to have kids? What you're going to do with your career? Many people tried to do something and they couldn't, and they decided to go away, to go to Germany or Austria, Ireland, some other country, Italy. In Europe, if they have somebody there, because again, we have like many refugees all over the world. So people go to find a job and go to school. Yeah, I have friends in every and people I know, every major city in the world, and somebody who is from Bosnia, either resettled during the war or recently. My friends, every single profession you can imagine. You tell me the city, I'll tell you name immediately. Every single, you need to know this. In Phoenix, there was one family from Bosnia before the war. Now there are more than 10,000 of us. There are many physicians, many university professors, dean of the school. They are like electricians. They are like people who know how to fix, plumbers. Everything. We have everything because there are more than 10,000 of us. But that was also bringing our relatives or friends because they cannot find the education, the job, home. They feel they have to leave. Like, I don't know the number I used to know, but it's every year I think a couple 100,000 people leave the Bosnia because they cannot fight. They feel hopeless.
So that was the next question
about
brain drain and how that has affected the ability of Bosnia to recover and move forward. So like you just said, so many people in highly educated and have left because that's their way out. What effect has that had in terms of rebuilding and moving on without that group of people that probably would have been super helpful in making it all work out?
Right. Some of us that are out, we are helping in many other ways, like for right now, like with money. Basically, that's we bring more money to Bosnia, a refugee from the world, more money than any economy in the Serbia or Croatia. We bring like billions of dollars every year. We send money, we help relatives, rebuilding our houses. I did mine, and we all do. So that's one way to help. But unfortunately, our population is decreasing, and that's also that happened to Croatia and Serbia. There, like if you go to Vienna, and you cannot find somebody who is working in the restaurant that's not from Serbia. They are also leaving. That's a trend in the Europe right now. But there's a time when you ask me a question about that. Let's talk about the 28 and 27-year-old person in Bosnia. They try to change something. They try to do something. They form some groups. But nationalism and fascism is much stronger. They say, you know what? I've tried. I have to go, because that's a individual freedom. And people ask me when I was their guest on TV in Bosnia News, they asked me, what do I think about why young people are leaving Bosnia? They are asking. I was supposed to say they shouldn't leave or something, and I disappointed them. I said, you know what? Every individual has a right to choose for self. What did you do, to keep us here? People have a right to form life, well, you cannot wait for next 10 years. The war was over 1995, 30 years ago. And situation is the same like in 1995, not much different. So I think international community, that's Christian Schmidt, I think he has good intention. He did some good job. I trust him. I talked to him for a long time. And then last summer, and I think he has good intention, and he's doing some good job. I think international community has to do a lot more than what they did before.
Still, you mean?
Yes.
Like ongoing?
Yes.
What do they need to do?
Okay, I'll tell you, it's actually very simple. By Dayton Peace Agreement, the High Commissioner, Christian Schmidt, he has a power to say right now, Mr. Dodik, you cannot be in politics. That's it. He can say that. And then other people, opposition has to form new government and work with us, and that's it. But he's afraid to do it because he may cause the conflict. But he has a power. And I talked to him about that. He's thinking about it. He's thinking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
We got more into politics. I'm not
Question here.
a politician.
Yeah, I think one thing that is really striking about your story is that the closeness of the community. Former perpetrators and victims knew each other, went to school with each other,
Right.
but also now often living side by side. So maybe you can talk a little bit about this kind of neighbor phenomenon of a close-knit society where people know each other.
Right.
And the second part, maybe for both of you, I know you're very involved in refugee issues here in the United States. So maybe you can talk a little bit about your work in helping refugees and how maybe the history of your experience shaped your work today.
Yeah, Neighbors is a process. There is a good book. I apologize, I don't know, name it, Vietnamese book. That guy who was in concentration camp during the Vietnam War, Vietnamese. His book is about a process how people change, how people change quickly from being friends and neighbor to something. The transformation of the person. Individual. This great book. So I saw that. I testified that. I saw that first before the war, like 20 days before the war, I had a patient who was actually my classmate in elementary school. He came to my office. I was thinking he's sick, and I was there in my office. I was family medicine doctor at the time, and he has something in his bag. I said, what did you bring me? He said, I get you like 10 bombs, like hand grenades. You may need it, man, because we can be in the war soon. And I want you to protect yourself. I said, I don't know how to use it. Get away from me. He liked me. He brought me. So one story from concentration camp. I was in Ljubuški, this name of camp. I was there for 6 months. I'm coming there, And there's a cells, one for one person cell, and there was 12 of us in the cell. And then they didn't get us outside at all. And then one day we got outside, and I saw the guy. He played basketball with me, and I know him. I helped his father. His father was heart disease patient. I helped his father several times. Basically, saved his father's life several times. He saw me. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, I'm here, already 6 months. He said, "What do you need?" I said, "I don't know. I'm hungry." He said, "I'll bring you everything. Don't worry about it. I'm here. I'm guard here. I'll help you everything. Tomorrow, we are out." He called my name. He has a gun. He said to me, I have that in my book. He said, 100 push-ups. So what happened to him, I later didn't know that time. What happened, the other guards saw him. He is friendly with me. And they told him, "What are you doing? He's our enemy. You should kill him." So he changed. And I saw fear in his eyes. And he asked me, and I said, "I have witnesses for this, like 49. Exactly, that's our number in that camp." That I told him no. And he said, "I have to kill you." I said, "That's okay. That's your choice. My choice is no. It's dirty, and I'm like, we are outside. I'm not going to do it." And he said, "But I have to kill you." I said, "Okay." So he obviously didn't. But he later, I didn't see him there. So he tried to be friendly. He tried to be himself. That moment, I hated him. But later I realized he didn't have a choice. I mean, he did, but in a way he didn't, because they told him. So that's the community, how community change. When I go right now, I behave depending on my mood. Honestly, I don't have a rule. If somebody comes to me and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you," and I say, F off. And some say, "Okay, that's fine." And then there was a friend who could help me. I know one of my best friends. I didn't see him. I pass his house every single time I'm there visiting from 2001. For 20 years, I'm passing his house. He was one of my best friends, Croatian. And he always asked, "How come I don't want to see him?" And this year I'm driving, and I saw him sitting with somebody in front of his house. I stopped my car. I was there. And he was shaking. He didn't believe. He hugged me, and he starts defending himself. He said, "Just shut up. I don't want to hear anything. I just came for you. I don't need you any longer. I just came. I know you are suffering because I'm passing you. I just did for you. I don't want you to suffer any longer, but I don't need you any longer." I said, "Don't talk to me." And I left. I left him there. Yes, I did. He needed this to see me. He needed to see that I'm not avoiding him because I'm scared of him. It was in front of his house, and his cousin was there, and he's surrounded by his people, and yeah. So, and later I felt, okay. So the neighbors, it's transformation. Transformation is politics and ideology so strong, and pressure, peer pressure. You cannot be good to neighbor, right?
And to answer your second part of the question, Volker, I mean, we're living in a world where we're seeing the uprooting of more and more people globally, right? Like global migration is happening. More and more people, even, according to UNHCR reports, more people are being uprooted, forcibly displaced for various reasons, whether that's climate change, whether that's persecution of, their religion, ethnicity. And so here domestically, the US is seen as a world leader. And so a lot of governments follow with what the US does. They're also one of the largest global donors to the UNHCR, right? And so that does have an impact on immigration as a whole, globally, when you think about it. And so here, recently with the new administration, and I don't want to get into politics, but we are seeing a lot of fear in our communities and refugee communities across different ethnic communities. Many people who were in the pipeline to arrive in January, over 200,000 people had their flights ready, went through very, very long and treacherous vetting process for 2-3 years. biometrics, all those things were approved and now were halted and stopped. And those families are in limbo. Many people separated from spouses, from children, and not to mention the deportations. That's another aspect of it, and asylum. That's another aspect of it. So we're seeing a lot of targeting of specific communities. And I shared this yesterday, particularly communities like the Bhutanese communities and Nepali minority groups who are being sent back to the countries that were persecuted. And there's this thing that was formed in 1951 and during the 1951 Refugee Act that says non-refoulement. You cannot send a person back to a place that they were persecuted. And so we're seeing that happen in violation of human rights. So I think the situation right now is not good, but it doesn't mean that it's going to always be like this, right? Migration is a complex issue. Refugee resettlement is a complex issue. And I think that things will shift. People are ready to organize. People are ready to put policies in place permanently that will help protect these people. So we're working on that. But I think we have a few more minutes. Are there any other?
There's one more question from online.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, then
So-
we could wrap up.
It's a little bit long, but I'm just gonna abbreviate it. This is from someone who actually was part of a peacekeeping force in Bosnia. And he wants to know, based on what he saw, how do you stop the generational hatred that is ingrained amongst the different ethnicities living in the former Yugoslavia?
It's only, I think only education, First has to be the decision by, obviously, political leaders and university and school. They have to make the decision we're gonna teach, not like the in Mostar. Mostar is city, it's a beautiful city with all bridge, still divided into two sides, Bosnian side and Croatian side. And then there is a video that Croatian kids first time coming to Bosnian side over the bridge. They came, and there's a video. They interviewed them, and they said they are white. They said they are white. They're not black. But there's no like racism in former Yugoslavia because we didn't have a chance. We didn't have anybody black. So they said they are like same. They look same as we are. And then that's education. They teach them that in the school. And there is there's also a video. There is a testimony of the kid in elementary school came home and then said to his mom, that our book is wrong. She said, how is book? Geography. They say River Neretva, and running through the middle of the town, city of Mostar, is running on the left side of the city of Mostar. They ignore the half of the city. So the education is the only way. It has to be through university, high school, and politician, and can be done so quickly. Can be, because when I talk to people, I had a person, Croatian person, young one, now lawyer, and she heard that I'm speaking in that was conference in St. Louis, big conference, and I was speaking on university, and then her mom was there, and I asked her, "Where's your daughter?" She said she's outside. She doesn't want to listen because her father was on Croatian army and she has own story, and her mom made her say, just listen, a sad story. And after that, she changed completely. After my story, she couldn't believe. She didn't know what happened to us. It was presented differently to her at school, by her father, by other people. When she heard my story, she changed completely view of Bosnia and everything. Education. And there has to be will. You have to, same like for all of us, you can learn something from me today. Anything we do, we have to make that decision. I am going to do something good today. I am going to be a good person. I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm going to help neighbor. I'm going to help a kid in the school. I'm going to I teach many students at medical school. I'm associate professor in 3 major medical schools in Phoenix, by the way. And I'm teaching. I tell them good story. I'm trying to teach them psychiatry. I'm trying to teach them how to be human. Do good things. And as I frequently say, the famous Bosnian writer Mesha Selmovic, he said, it is easy to do bad things. It's very easy because evil, unfortunately, evil is so close to our heart. In order, that's what he said, word by word. In order to do good things, you have to make the decision. And then, not only decision, guess what? You have to, he said, you have to put a lot of effort. So it's not easy to be good. It's not easy. It's easy to say, I'm Bosnian nationalist, I don't care about other people. No. It's not easy to be good, but it's doable. And that's my message to all of us, including myself.
Thank you.
And on that note, we will leave it on that note. That is a very, very good, inspiring ending from Dr. Esad. And I just want to thank you for your words of wisdom today. And thank you all for attending. Please join us for the 3:15 session where we will continue this dialogue looking into the future of Bosnia. We will dive deeper into that. So that will be kind of a part 2. So thank you, everyone. And those online, thank you for joining us.
Okay, we'll take a, thank you. We'll take a break, and you did that plug much better than I would have. So thank you for doing that. So we're going to resume at 10:30 with our pain, trauma, and repair panel, which seems to naturally follow this. So.